Okay. Hey y'all, it's your girl Sia, and I'm back with another video. Y'all, so here's the deal. I have to talk about this. It has been on my mind ever since he did this freaking speech, and I just want to be able to give my little 2 cents on it. First and foremost, it's Biden. He's very it requires a lot of patience for me to listen to him in full. But what I will say is, I appreciate the speech. Okay. I appreciate him taking the time out to address what a peaceful protest is versus a violent protest. What I'm very confused about is, where was this conversation after Black Lives Matter? This is, I know that people are saying, oh, well, them leftist college kids. Listen, the left is in bed with Israel just as the right is too, because that's what they're showing, right? America as a whole has I don't know, this is just my opinion. I've said this before, is I feel like there is a contract, whether it's verbally, whether it's written. I think that there's a contract, so to speak, that keeps America in line with Israel pretty much at all times. I don't know what that is. I know some of the people, I was about to say something else. I know that some of you do. And please feel free to enlighten me, because I'm very confused here. Okay. I don't see myself as being in bed with Israel. I do see Israel as a completely different country. Okay. And so for me personally, I don't feel like the United States should be involved with anything that really does not pertain us. But then again, maybe it does, because of the invested interests that we may have. Okay. And I don't know what those are. Okay. And I'm sure it's out there. I just have not done enough research on Israel to really know those things. But I'm sure I will at some point. Now, with that being said, I know that the right is Fox News and all these people are those leftist college kids, right? But it's like, I don't know that it's a left or a right thing. I think this is college students and America and Israel, right? I don't believe that it's a right or a left situation. Now, are a lot of those college students probably liberals? Of course. But what they're fighting for, in my opinion, hmm, what they're protesting for, maybe that's a better word. What they are protesting for, in my opinion, is valid. Okay. Um, that's just what it is. I don't see anything wrong with the argument. And then I understand that people are saying, well, hey, we need this peaceful protest. And listening to Biden list off all the things that were illegal, knowing damn well, allegedly, right? Those folks at the top have done exactly what he's saying that they shouldn't be doing. In fact, Black Lives Matter was that not an example? And I want to be very clear, if this was a leftist thing that these college students were involved in, and this is all the left, right? Why the hell do you got Biden coming out and saying anything at all? Okay. I don't believe, and not did he only say something, but things were done to, or at least they tried to control the contain the situation. Right? Black Lives Matter. They kind of let it go on and go on, and then they finally did what they were supposed to do, but they barely even did all that. Okay, so I do believe that these college students were thinking for self. Now, maybe some jumped on the bandwagon because it became cool and a trend to do. But I could see myself as a college student, and I could see that technically we're in 2024, so we're supposed to be in more sophisticated type of, lifestyles and stuff like that. So here you have a president talking about peaceful protests, and in a sophisticated society, I would think that peaceful protesting is the right way to go. I don't believe that it's the only way to go. I believe that there's measures, and I do believe if I was fighting for something of a just cause, you're gonna hear me. And you could try to act like you can't, but I'm gonna make sure I do whatever I can so I know that you heard me, so that I made an impact, so that I left an imprint on the society that I'm working on changing. So I believe, like Malcolm X would say, okay, by any means necessary. I don't necessarily believe in the peaceful protest theory. Because what I feel like is when you're peaceful and you're speaking, right? And you guys know this in your everyday life if you're ever dealing with folks, okay? Unless you know you're just one of those people that are always respected no matter where you go. But for those of you guys who can relate, you guys understand that sometimes, when you do things peaceful and you're nice and you're kind, like that only gets you so far. Like, let's keep it a buck. Let's keep it 1,000. Now, I don't agree with students not being able to graduate on time, but I don't think that that was, again, if I'm putting myself in those college students' situations, right? If school was still able to occur off campus, how the fuck are these people not able to graduate? You see what I'm saying? I think that was a way to it was something that the schools put in place, okay, in order or said or whatever to try to make the students feel bad about their own actions and how their actions impact other students at the school. For me personally, I'm not really understanding how. Now, those students who spent all their time protesting, like, of course, it's to be expected that maybe they won't graduate. Maybe they'll be a little bit behind in studies, right? But for the kids that are on track to graduate, realistically, I'm not. How are they not able to graduate? Like, okay, so maybe their day looks a little different, right? Maybe they don't get to be on college campus walking around with a cap and gown. But does that really mean that they didn't graduate? And again, I understand the experience and everything. I get it because we're only so far away from the graduations and stuff. I get it. You want your young people to have an experience. They graduate from college, and you should be able to walk that floor with your diploma and your diploma, your degree, and your freaking cap and gown, right? I get it. But I think that some of that was said, and I think those rumors and the idea that possibly these students can't graduate, I don't know that that's all like. I think some of that is just to make people upset about the situation more so than what people really should be. That's just my opinion. I know if I was a student on track to graduate and you telling me I can't graduate because of some knuckleheads, I'm gonna be mad. Like, let's keep it 1,000. Now, what's so cold about it though is you got a fucking president, bro, that got a history, and it's not just the president; it's politics in general. And this is allegedly, right? Because nobody really knows because these people are being called out, but they're never really held accountable in the court of law except Trump. And so, who knows? But apparently these folks are dibbling and dabbling in all types of illegal shit. So again, as a college student, you think I'm taking Biden seriously? No. I'm looking at this man like, how dare you? It's hypocrisy, sir. You know what I mean? Like, you a gangster just like I am. You know what I mean? Like, I would not. A part of me just sat and looked like this is like a parent telling their kids, "Hey kids, you better be good, and here's all the reasons why you should, and this is bad behavior." It didn't seem genuine, I guess. I don't know what the word is to put on that, but it didn't seem like it was really heartfelt. And then on top of that, it was, are you gonna take accountability for what your son do? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I can't listen to people who do what they're telling me I shouldn't be doing. That makes no sense. And if you think some of these college students ain't bright enough to figure that out, oh, y'all got a whole nother thing coming. I gotta get some more. My one of my mirrors. So I got this mirror. I got it when I first moved, and it's like a long mirror, tall mirror, but it's got like it's a jewelry box. But I don't know if people would know it's a jewelry box, which I probably shouldn't be saying that. But my mirror, I noticed like some of my squares, because you could tell the way they designed it is like glued in place. And so certain pieces, because I got a frame, it's like a frame around the mirror, but it's a mirror. And so pieces of the mirror, I'm seeing a square that's it looks like it's about to fall out. Like if I was to mess with it, it'd fall out of place. So I gotta not super glue, gorilla glue it back so that it goes back to normal. I don't know. Um but I just noticed that. So that's what I was looking at. But I feel like, and I've said this before and I'll say it again, that how a business, when you're looking at a business, America is a corporation. It is what it is, right? It is a business at this point. And so your people are only so good at their leaders, right? And then you gotta understand these kids are young, they're impressionable, right? They're not grown ass adults like out there, it's kids. Okay. So the fact that you've got grown ass, old ass people all upset about what these kids are doing and not doing, that's a problem to me when you got so many other things you could be focused on, like the economy, like the migrants, all the things that are really impacting America right now. But we're going to cry and complain over some college students that are speaking their mind. And apparently, this is what I really think has happened. And I could be wrong, but I don't know anybody like in the movement or personally, so I can't ask. But I really believe, and this is my thoughts, okay? Black Lives Matter, and I don't know, right? Because black people, we try to claim Black Lives Matter. Look, listen, I'll probably get shunned saying this, but my thoughts on Black Lives Matter, the entire movement, everything that we've seen in 2020, the situation with George Floyd, like that still stands. And I do believe that black people, and I mean all of us, right, at times play a level of victimhood when we probably shouldn't be playing that card. And sometimes certain things, again, I'll say this again, racism, prejudice, right? Prejudice, biases, like they're all a little different. So for for anyone to come to me and say, well, it's the same thing as Black Lives Matter, you guys, I don't believe it is. I don't believe that this argument here is. I believe from what I can see is that what they're fighting for is very relevant to what's happening. And if the US is funding this bullshit, I mean, excuse my language, but if we're funding it, then why wouldn't the movement be here? Why wouldn't we be protesting here if we disagree with the actions of the country? And like I said, the situations that these folks are fighting against are so severe in terms of what's happening overseas, regardless of whose side you on. It's severe. We're like, Americans ain't in no war. We have not been lucky enough. I don't know if that's luck, but we have not experienced what that looks like in today's time. We don't know what it's like to have bombs being dropped on us, right? We don't know. All we can do is speculate. All we can do is imagine what that feels like, what it looks like, how scary it may or may not be. But what I do know is if that situation was happening here, and it was because of, let's say, my government, right? I'm gonna need folks to know that, listen, bro, what they did in Washington ain't got shit to do with me here. And I understand in loyalty, but when you have a country that's not loyal to you, then when you don't owe the country no loyalty in that regards. So I could only imagine what those people are going through on both sides overseas. Because I'm sure, well, I don't know if I'm sure about this, but I don't know that everybody in everybody on that side of the world on both sides agree with what's happening either. So I think this was students who, again, some probably, because you're dealing with kids, some probably are immature, right? Some probably took that and ran with it and used it as an excuse to be fools or do whatever. We all know college students party, so them being drunk is not like, in my opinion, and if I'm drinking, I'm protesting. What's that got to do with you, homie? So you telling me because I drink, I took a sip of something because I'm bored, but I'm protesting for a just cause? That's a problem. That's where, like I say, it's like selective outrage, right? We forget that we were once their age. You're dealing with kids. Some of these kids are fresh out of high school. Like, okay, if they want to fight for their cause, and let them fight for their cause. And again, I agree with Biden in the sense that you shouldn't become a nuisance, right? That's really what how I see it. It's not really right or wrong, black or white. Violence is bad, because sometimes violence gets the job done. See, because let me be very clear, and this is what America keeps forgetting. America, okay, let's say it with the three Ks, okay? When you're really thinking about America, you're being forced to make decisions day in and day out. And in my um how would I say this? In my thought process, it's a violent way of doing it. Half of the folks are making decisions they don't even know that they're being led into making, but they're making them and don't even realize that there's a puppet master at pulling the strings. To me, that's violent. That's manipulative. Like, I'm serious. You had the situation with COVID-19, y'all. I probably shouldn't have said that, but I'm saying it. That wasn't a violent situation. Like, how many people are, you mean to tell me that that wasn't a situation in which we step back and say, oh, wow, that's, our government's pretty violent. Like, no. But you got these people turning around telling everybody, well, peaceful protesting. Where was this conversation during Black Lives Matter? And see, I know people like to compare it to January 6th, but I also don't think that January 6th is a good example, because I do feel like January 6th was infiltrated. I feel like you had people there with on a mission to like, my spirit was like, no, these people probably shouldn't go. Because it was obvious that there was going to be a level of manipulation and infiltration, right? And unnecessary drama that occurred. It was obvious because of the climates that we had already been dealing with. So to me, that's not the same. This is more people who are educated. I'm not saying they're educated in a manner that I agree with, or that maybe you agree with, or that we agree with. But what I'm saying is they are educated. When you hear these people speaking, they're not speaking a bunch of, it didn't sound like Black Lives Matter talking. It sounded like a professor talking, a teacher talking. And I think what frustrates people is that you see immigrants and you automatically paint the left with immigrants. And unfortunately, on the right, there are some racist ass white people. Okay. And it just is what it is. So naturally, instead of hearing what these kids are saying, you're over there, oh, look at them leftist kids. Why? Because they got an opinion and they're using their education, regardless if you like it or not. They're doing what everyone else did in Black Lives Matter. So you mean to tell me that we just allowed a situation like Black Lives Matter to happen with no repercussions, and these kids are expected not to follow? Huh? And the only reason they're being shut down is because this is not the team that they're supposed to be playing for. If they were out there, and let's say Israel was in replace of the words Gaza, this conversation of these college students, I mean, you may have your people upset about the graduation, like your everyday people, right? So your news still may report it in that manner, but your president ain't coming out and saying shit. Bet you Trump wouldn't have been saying not a goddamn thing. Now, I don't care what Trump says. I know he supports Israel. I don't care what people say. He has shown me during this time that that's who he supports and stands by. This is why I say I don't know who I'm voting for. I'm not stupid. I know a lot of people wish that Trump was the answer. And when you're looking at the Democrats, honestly, he's the only answer that we have right now. But then again, maybe not, right? You got other people still in the race. They just ain't talking about them as much. They ain't talking about the election at the level that they should be talking about it, period. Let alone the people running. So we do have options, right? But I'm not naive, man. I got to look at things for what they are. And as a Black person here in America, I hate saying that word because I'm not Black. I mean, I don't look the color Black, but unfortunately, this is how we choose to color people. I guess. I have to question the intention of America. It just is what it is. Like, you can't, as a Black person, because of our experiences here, or our ancestors' experiences here, or the history that's being taught of how it was here, right? We go through the Native Americans, the Trail of Tears, the slavery is called, what is, I can't think of it right now, y'all. There's a word for the the slaves that came from Africa. There's words for how many Mexicans and Indians done got killed and pushed off their land by the same people whose children are complaining about the fact that these kids are on college campuses protesting. As a Black person, I could never, like, I'm sorry. I'm always gonna choose humanity. Like, I'm always gonna choose right, but like, I'm sorry. I don't know too many Black people that can identify with certain aspects of the situation in a way that people want us to. If anything, we identify more with, I'd rather not say it, but I can relate. I don't know that I can relate, but I know that we can relate. I don't know how to explain it. So it's cool to see these college students, man, speaking up. And then what was really cool to me to see was, regardless if I agree or not, seeing the faculty, and I'm not talking about the staff, I'm talking about the professors, the ones that are teachers, the ones that are out there talking. And I know a lot of people are like, well, there's a lot of propaganda that they teach our children. Yeah, but if you stop to think about right versus wrong in this dynamic, are they wrong? Like, is what their argument now, again, minus the bullshit, right? If you cut out the bullshit, is the argument wrong? Like, I heard Andrew Tate, what was he talking with Pierce Morgan about this a while ago? And I didn't say anything, but I was like, first of all, I was very intrigued by the interview because I was shocked at how intelligent this man was, but I shouldn't have been that shocked considering how much money this man got. But I was. So the whole time I'm watching this interview and I'm like, bro, like, I was amazed. Okay. I'm not even gonna lie. I don't know if I could do a Pierce Morgan because I would get irritated so quickly. But to see how intelligent this man was, right? And to see what side he stood on, right? I don't know, man. I don't know how much of this is about, I think that certain people are having issues and concerns with powers
changing. And what is it? The reset, the wealth transfer? Is that what they call it? I think certain people just have an issue with that. And I think that goes back to, again, racism, prejudice, right? Biases, right? That only certain people would know of. They're the only ones with the issue. So I couldn't take Biden seriously. Like, I appreciate him. He came on, talked like a granddad, a dad to these kids. I don't think he has the credibility to really be like, well, that is illegal. Like, to me, it just comes off as Kenism. Okay. I really wasn't in support of that speech. Like, I feel like it's on the states to get their shit together. If you got a college, and that's another thing. How is it new, for example, I know it's not New York State, I think it was Columbia or something like that, but let's say, because there's other states where this has happened, and the Colorado is one of them. But you have these states like Colorado State University, not saying it's the CSU, okay, y'all, Colorado University or New York, whatever what are the state colleges? That's, y'all know what I mean. Y'all, and I'm not saying Colorado specifically, I'm just using them as an example. But my thing is, once you have state attached with something, shouldn't it be on the state to deal with it? Like a lot of people, oh, the president finally spoke. Well, I'm not so sure why he had to speak. I don't think that his words fucking matter, bro. I don't think people take Biden seriously. Like, if I'm a college student, yet again, I know people think, okay, well, they're leftists, so they're going to follow their people. No, they're off script right now. The college students are off script. This is why everybody and their mama is trying to get them right back in line. No, no, no. We don't go against Israel. Nope, nope, nope. The college students are going with what in this moment, I can genuinely say I feel like they really feel that way. And this is our people who are going to be our future. And I only support it because I don't want no genocide happening to my people in 30, 40 years because y'all get tired of it. Like, I would much rather have people that are in leadership that think this shit is wrong than people that are sitting here trying to justify why it isn't. And then my thing is, well, you're talking about peaceful protest. War is not peaceful. I'm going to say it again. War is not peaceful. So you don't think that there were possibly peaceful measures that they could have taken? They talking about chaos. Is that not what's happening overseas? That we just allotted billions of dollars to support? But then you turn around and you tell the people of the country that supports financially backs the chaos that we should protest peacefully. I just, it doesn't, my mind doesn't make it click. It's not clicking for me. So while I agree, again, if you can do it peacefully, do it peacefully. I'm not a breaker of the law anymore, okay? So I will always be peaceful because I ain't trying to go to jail. But I also recognize that there's a time and a place to put that shit aside to get measures done. And no offense, I'm sure others feel that way too. So like I said, I will be heard, whether you like it or not. You ain't finna gaslight me. I've just learned how to utilize my words a little bit more, not my emotions. So I'm proud of myself. Clap on the back. But I'm just saying, right? I've always said this. I don't think Martin Luther King handled that shit the right way. I think that he should have went the Malcolm X route. I think blacks would be much better off today had we followed Malcolm X. And I think Martin Luther King started to figure that out too in his last days of time. Something they never will tell you about. They don't like talking about.
And I say they because it's a certain type of people. The history is there. And I say this, as long as a person, this is what I always say. If you're willing to die for the truth, go for it. Why not? Like, we're living in times right now where people don't understand this is history in the making. Every day you wake up and you go to sleep, and we do this race every day, the same old shit every day. You get up, you get your breakfast, you get in the shower, you do what you gotta do, you go to work. After work, you may have to come home, you cook, you do whatever, and you go to bed and you do it all over again. It's the same shit. But right now, what you're seeing are people waking up inside the matrix, and they're saying, fuck this shit. I don't want to do this anymore. And I keep telling y'all, peaceful protesting, like, I'm sorry, but where has it gotten anybody? Like, I don't, still to this day, I have no idea what Black Lives Matter was for, but all I know is what they meant to achieve, they got. Like, I know that they say it's for the killing of blacks and the police, but, or black men in the police, maybe the women. I can't remember. Was Sandra Bland and all them? Yeah, they were probably part of that movement. Like, yeah, too. Okay, never mind. But I still didn't understand the reasoning for all of that. Like, mentally, I just can't wrap my head around those protests. What I do know is there was an agenda for those protests, and whatever agenda it was, it got done. So we're talking about peaceful protests, and we talking about these college students like they're not nobody's future. Like, we don't live in a country where these college students are about to become the leaders of today. I don't think it's that serious. I think that unless these kids were doing crazy, crazy crimes, right? Obviously, vandalism, destroying property, like shit like that, I get. But for the most part, these kids should be allowed to get the slap on the wrist, really, in my opinion. And I know everybody's saying, oh, they're spoiled kids. Well, they're fucking your kids, bro. You created the spoiled child. And like, this is people. Hang on. Sorry, y'all. People act like these ain't people's kids out here running amok. Like, okay, so these spoiled kids, well, they were spoiled when you had them. But and they've been spoiled. It's not like they just went to college and all of a sudden they spoiled. No, they've been spoiled. And a lot of these kids, if they're going to these wealthy ass schools, no offense, there's only so many wealthy people in America. Like, come on now. You mean to tell me these kids ain't some of y'all's kids? Hello? What you're seeing, and this is what's so crazy, I think certain Americans have a hard time with diversity. It just is what it is. I'm really beginning to think some people freak out when it comes to diversity. What you're seeing on these campuses that were once all white or all black, right? You're starting to see a lot of people from different countries, people, immigrants that are here, students on visas and everything else, but they're international. You guys, I didn't realize how many internationality is almost everywhere right now. If you really look at it like that. I was just driving by, and it was a soldier, right? There were 3 soldiers. I think one only dressed like a soldier. The other one, I don't know what he was dressed like a mechanic or something. But obviously they were soldiers. They had a fucking tank on the road, and it was like a small like tank, not too big, but big enough to take up one side of the road. And the tank had, I don't know if it just wasn't driving or moving. I don't know how them things work, but they had hazards on the Jeep in front of the tank. And then the dude the soldier was out directing traffic to go around the tank. And it was a very odd place for a tank to be, just because there's no, I mean, unless they were coming from like, all I can think of is Lowry. Like there's no base where I was, so it was very out of place. It was one of those things where you look because you're like, what the fuck are you even doing here? Like, why do I even see you? So they're sitting there directing traffic, and dude, the Jeep has got its hazards on. I'm looking, it's fucking Mexicans. These are Mexican. I mean, they're American soldiers, but they're Mexican, bro. And I'm sitting there looking like every last one of you motherfuckers is Mexican. Every last one of them was Mexican, okay? And I'm not saying Mexican that they spoke Spanish only. I'm talking about like, but they were Mexican. They were not white. They were not black. What I'm used to seeing. And again, I'm of a different generation too, so I've seen a lot coming up, but the world has changed. And I know that there's Spanish people in the military. I just didn't know to that extent. Like you just, and y'all got to understand where I just moved from last year. I lived by a military base. So I seen military men all the time, but they were usually like whites. I didn't see too many dark blacks, a lot of mulattoes and whites. But to see the Spanish, it was like, oh, okay. And I'm thinking to myself, well, if you're a citizen of Mexico and the United States, who do you end up fighting for? Is it the United States or is it Mexico? These are legitimate questions I be wondering. Like, it's the same thing with these students on this campus. You got international students. You think international students are not going to fight for what they believe in and they give a fuck about what your American thoughts are? Let's keep it a buck. Half of them students they had accents and all that. I was like, dang, okay. It's no longer, I think this is where America is messing up, is we're not understanding that this is a global, we have now issued into a new time. So this mind frame of white and black, right? This mind frame, and I guess it's okay for right now. We'll see where black people fall into this because I ain't seeing it right now, okay? But this old paradigm thought process is not, it doesn't seem like it's going to be beneficial moving forward. Like, we can complain all we want. Like I told you guys with the borders, that shit kind of pissed me off because I'm the one providing. It's like my tax dollars is going to this bullshit. But when you really look at it, like I said, they ain't going nowhere. These people are not going nowhere. Just like the president spoke out today, why hasn't he spoken out about the migrant? That's why I said I can't take him seriously. Okay. But he had to speak out. This is one thing y'all are not understanding. He had to. Because you've got a population of the American people that is saying we don't F with this country like that. We're not in agreement with what this country is doing. We don't care. And that goes against the very grain of what the corporation America does. And is, and embodies, and embraces, and supports. So when you have interest invested in the things that you see happening, let me be clear, I truly believe, and I said this, I'm pretty sure I said this, you don't just give $96 billion to countries that you're not invested in. You don't do that. You don't give money to countries that you don't have a personal investment in. Do you understand me? This is why I think it's personal. I think it's really what's happening to America and the dollar. I think that some of this is personal. That has been now, it's one of those things where I don't know how to explain it. I just feel like it's personal. I don't feel like this is all done just randomly. It's done for a reason. I know I ain't got $96 billion, but even if I had it, I'm not giving it to no people I don't have a personal investment in or with. So it's no surprise that the president came out and talked. He had to. He didn't have a choice. And it puts him in an awkward spot because he's got to talk against his base, Okay. So yeah, hell yeah, that's gonna take me a few days to get out because I gotta now tell the people that vote for me stupidly that what they're doing is wrong. Yeah, that would take me a little while to talk about it. I'm just saying. That's how I see it, man. I don't think that I don't know. I don't think that this was something that the left just conjured up. I don't think the left expected the college students to start doing what they were doing. I don't think that that was planned. I think that was what is the thing? I'm trying to think of the word and I can't think of it because I wanted to call it a ripple in time, but that's not. I feel like I had much better words on the top of my tongue that I just forgot. But it's like a disruption to the plans. It's a disruption. It's a disruption that they didn't plan on. So that's my take on it. Like I said, I'm proud of these college students for taking a stand and standing up for what they believe in. I think that's the whole premises about like, why are you going to college if you can't speak up and stand up for yourself? Like, I just feel like, isn't that the time to be doing that? Like, because right now at my age, I don't got that kind of time. Somebody's got to be doing it. So if it's the college students, shout out to them. I support, young people, man. And if this is what they believe, I can't necessarily say that I'm against what they believe. So I don't hold it against them, man. I hope that everybody gets to graduate if that's everybody's biggest fear. Oh my God. Okay, fine. Then get your graduation on, enjoy your graduation. But let me be clear, these kids they did what they felt like was necessary. And did you have other kids that were out of control that just went with the flow and did whatever just because and took advantage of the opportunity? Of course. You have that in everything, every movement. But if we're going to talk about some goddamn college kids, okay? Because no offense, they're kids, then we should have been talking about Black Lives Matter when that shit happened. That shit shouldn't even been allowed to happen, right? As quickly as they were able to get these motherfuckers in control, they should have been able to get all them people under control. But that was bought and paid for. This was not. Two different things. And I know people are saying, well, who's funding them? Who's funding them? I don't think this is a Black Lives, and maybe we'll find out. Maybe I could be wrong, right? But I don't see the goal. Like, I don't see what the left gets out of the college students protesting against what the left supports. They support Israel. So if you're telling me that you're in support of Gaza, that's actually backwards. That's not like a leftist theory, unless, I mean, somebody can break it down to me. I haven't seen it. I just think this is why I had to take a step back from the blue and red paradigm, because I think sometimes we get so caught up in that shit that's the only way we can see things is from that point of view, because you're so caught up and wrapped up in it. That's why I say I'm nervous, because if there's not an election, boy, people are about to be freaking out. If Biden wins, which I don't think he will, but if he wins, people gonna be freaking out. So we'll see. We only got so many months to we'll see. Anyway, y'all, I'm getting up out of here, but that is my take on it. I know it's different from what I'm used to, what y'all are used to. But I just I gotta look at things. Everything I feel like, unless it's a personal situation that I'm sharing, I always believe in balance. I believe balance is key. And I can't look at this shame on those kids without putting myself in their shoes and or understanding the argument. I just can't. Now, I'm not saying, people from certain countries are bad or none of that. I just don't know that we're, the demonization of these children, because they're children. I mean, they're not babies, but they're definitely 18, 19, 20, 21. right? These are kids that are going to be running the show when I'm like 55, 60. I would think that I would want people. Now, again, you can't be too soft, but I want people that believe that genocide is not okay. And I understand the argument of, oh, well, genocide and did it. No, not when you listen. Like I said, America has not been fortunate enough to be put in these situations yet. So we speak from a place of lack of understanding, yet, and still, like I say all the time, if the government, if something happened, God forbid, and Biden, did something that caused certain things to happen here where we now start seeing bombs dropping, Biden made the deal, but innocent people are dying, as a result. How is that okay? How is that fair? Period. And everybody, this is what throws me off about the right now. See, there's several times in my life where I just don't understand the right way of thinking. I really don't get it. Okay. Most of the time I get it. Certain times I really don't. How is Fox News putting down the college students for fighting against the people, excuse me, the people of the person who helped fund Black Lives Matter? Like, how do they do that? Like, I'm not saying all people from Israel or who practice, Judaism are bad individuals. However, we have to acknowledge that certain people at the top are what they are. So we run our mouths and we want to talk about conspiracy this and conspiracy that and conspiracy this, but we still support the very people that are part of these quote unquote conspiracies, or that we think are parts of these conspiracies. See, because you can individually name a person, but that person comes from somewhere. It's so confusing. It's very confusing to me. If you stand with what's right, then you stand with what's right, no matter what. You don't switch that shit up. That's why I said I don't know. Like I said, I question Trump because the allegiance is ridiculous. I'm not understanding it. Is he from and again, granted, I don't have any family members that I know of that live outside this country, right? So maybe if I had family members or something that lived in Africa, maybe I would care more. I care, but it's just I don't care enough to be like, bro, I'm gonna send you $5 billion. Like, I don't care that much. I hope you do well, and do well for all of us. But outside of that, I'm not sending these folks billions and billions of dollars. So where does our allegiance lie? Y'all are talking about what's the word? I was about to say politician. What's the word? I'm a patriot. Well, what does that really mean? Because for every person that's speaking and telling these college students they wrong, that means technically you in support of the billions of dollars. Like you can this is what the Bible says. You're either hot or cold or something. I don't want to repeat but this is what I remember the Bible saying. Let me not give y'all. But the Bible says something about he would prefer you not to be lukewarm. So for those of you who claim to be patriots, what does that really mean? Does that mean that we're in bed with two different countries, that we support America, but we also support this other country? And why do we support it? I'm still waiting for somebody to really help me understand why we're supporting that outside of the interest that we have that are invested there. Because there's something. There's no fucking way, bro. These people are selfish. You mean to tell me there's nothing, that they're just giving billions of dollars away because they care? No, bro. That's not what it is. I'm telling you that now. I put money on it. Okay. As a matter of fact, I won't say that because I don't know who's watching. But I won't say that. I believe there's more to this Israel thing than we know, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people know. Okay, But I think at some point we have to say, you know what do we really stand for? Do we stand for peace, like Biden says, or do we support chaos? Which is what that bill just said. And it's interesting. I was watching a YouTube video really quick, and they were talking about how certain countries were coming out on top. So the part of this wealth transfer thing, right, is that basically the wealth is being transferred from places like this country and the Europe and all these places where these, people are, okay? And it's being transferred to people who do not look like the typical European. Okay, it's being transferred to South Africa, to China, to, from what I heard, Ukraine is actually, and I was shocked because I don't know too much about that, but what the guy said on the YouTube, and I don't know how true it is because you still got to do your research. But what he said is that part of the wealth transfer is that Ukraine is actually one of those people, that country, that's part of like that wealth transfer thing. And so when he said it for a very brief second, and they were not talking about conspiracies. But I'm curious now. I'm like, okay, so Ukraine is about to come up. That's what they're saying. Or they're saying that they already came up or something. They got like a level of power that I don't know, because I thought Russia had all the power. But apparently, from what I hear, they're saying that like countries like that you would never, it's Ukraine, and there's one other one that the guy said that I was just like, huh, that's interesting. And I don't know where I watched it at. Maybe it was World Economic Forum. Actually, I don't know. It was a wealth transfer video. So it could have been, but I don't know, because I was just hitting things on YouTube. But I see China and South Africa, right? But Ukraine, I guess I don't know too much about them. I don't know too much about that side of the world to really know, but that's what I heard. So I don't know if it's true. I don't know anything. I just know that that's what I heard. And I thought it was very interesting because why are we giving this amount of money to this country? There's a reason for it. Are people asking the questions? So you have a president that like I said, that speech he had to make. It is what it is. He didn't have a choice. We're in bed. Well, not we, but the country. So I say we, but I'm talking about in figuratively, are in bed with Israel. This is why anything anybody says against Israel is considered what? Anti-Semitism. When in all actuality, it's not. Now, if you're saying things like I hate this group of people and stuff like that, like that's different, right? But for just saying, hey, I don't support the activities of this country, I don't support what you're doing, that's not racism in the slightest. And I know they say anti-Semitism, but it's the same thing. It's the same thing. So I think people need to be more aware of what people are saying, maybe. Be more aware of your conspiracy. Stop following people just because they seem like they're the person to follow, but actually know what you're supporting. This is why I tell you guys, when you vote, your vote matters, but your vote mostly matters in terms of your karmic cycle. And if you're not understanding that, I don't know what to tell you. I'm not willing to vote for a man I don't know if I can trust. And it has nothing to do. Y'all know damn well in 2020, I voted for Trump. Okay. And it was so funny because I was at work and this guy was like, you voted for Trump? Like, you could tell he was shocked that I voted for Trump. But I'm like, yeah. I mean, in my mental, that was the only right option. Now, I understand people are saying, well, he's the only right option now. Listen, we are coming close to the day. What do they call it? The rapture, the end of Armageddon, right? The end of times as we know it. I think I'm gonna just sit and observe this one. I think that I don't want to put myself in a compromising situation where I'm voting for somebody who's, because if I vote for them, everything they do is I'm essentially, I'm not responsible for, but I am, and to some degree I vouched for this person. I said I want this person. And with times changing the way that they are, and obviously there are people freaking out because things are changing drastically. If you ain't noticed, everywhere you go there is a freaking immigrant somewhere. I keep telling y'all this. It's just actually happening in real time. And I don't think some folks know how to deal with that level of change. Now, I know some people are saying, well, they brought the immigrants in to replace blacks, and some of them are voting white and all this jazz, but I still think that that makes some folks kind of uneasy. I don't know, Now we're dealing with competition from all around the world, you know? So I think that what was really being, what some white people didn't like is the fact that these are American kids caring about some shit that's going on in their mind, and in the American mind. We're taught that people with I don't want to say this, but excuse me, you guys, but Muslims are not like good people. Like, that's what we're taught, right? You had the 9/11 situation that happened, right? And everybody's thinking that these people are bad people, okay? And you have some whites, and I say whites because it's only y'all in this regards. It ain't black people. Now, it is in the sense that we had the same experience in terms of 9/11, right? So when we look at an immigrant, we're like, why the fuck are you here? Like, go, like, I wouldn't even say an immigrant. I'm gonna say a migrant. Them people, those are the people that blacks are like, mm-mm. Like, we have a hard time. We're barely, we but it's for different reasons. It's not necessarily because we don't like you because of your skin color. It's more like, dude, it's an economic issue. Black people are affected by the migrants the most, and poor whites, but blacks, economically, financially. Do you understand? It's not just because they're from a different country, like, and they're foreign to us. Whereas I feel like white people is a little different. I think that is more, well, like, it's like the American kids are fighting for this country that we don't even support. Like, I think it's so different. I think the white mentality of this, outside of the elites that are like, nah, we need to get this shit under control. I'm talking about the everyday white person that got a negative opinion, something to say. I think that has everything to do with the fact that they're realizing we are in an international situation. Like, they're not realizing it, but they need to start understanding that shit's international. So when you see your son Brad, right, fighting for Mohammed and places like Gaza, well, that, I mean, no offense, that's where we're at in this world. I think that's more of the outrage. That is just my personal opinion. But as far as the elites, as far as the police, as far as these colleges are concerned, they've got an allegiance. Hence why the students are saying, I don't want my tuition going to Israel. These students are not dumb. Now, they may be dumb in some situations. And like I say, they follow each other, like, because they're so young, they're dumb. They're dumb. They're naive, right? So imagine 18, like I say, you see all these college students, standing up for the people. I might want to tag along just to see. That's how that works. They're young, they're impressionable. There's nothing wrong with that. And the message that they were fighting for, fuck, like, all the extra shit is extra shit. The message that they were fighting for was the right to human life, period. So I'm very confused as to where people are getting upset. And again, if I'm wrong, please correct me. If there's something else that I'm missing, like I said, outside of the illegal stuff that Biden listed, like we didn't know was illegal. Okay, sir. So why don't you start talking? Shoot, why aren't you? I ain't gonna say nothing. You got a son who done probably half of those things you listed allegedly. That's my opinion. But you want to tell some college students about what's illegal and what's not? Like these kids aren't being bred in these scenarios for a certain reason. Like this is why people kill me. Like, you've been doing illegal shit, but you're gonna get on TV and start protesting, telling everybody else about what they shouldn't be doing. Yeah, okay. Good try. Nice try. He tried. He did what he was supposed to do. Good old boy. But understand that somebody else is pulling these strings. It ain't the president. It's somebody else. It's him, but it's somebody else. And they did not want these college campuses to be going on, this protest to be happening at the level that it's been happening, because again, these protests were heard around the world, not just in America, around the world, which means that these kids got somebody's attention. And somebody who's actually very powerful. And that person said, no, we can't have this. Your country swore allegiance to us, and look at your people. That's exactly what happened. So that's all I got to say on the matter, y'all. Let me know what y'all think down in the comments below. With that being said, I'm out. Peace.